Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody. Okay, thank you for opportunity uh, for committee progressive and fun education to present my article with title Determinant Factors of Learning Outcomes, Religious Attitude for of Private Madrasah Aliyah students based on Islamic Modern School. My team is me. My name is Surono, and then Professor Dr. Sutama MED, and Professor Dr. Harsono HU, Associate Professor Dr. Sabar Narimo MPD MM. We are Faculty Teaching and Training Education Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, Indonesia. Okay, based on our research, private madrasah aliyah based on Islamic boarding school has a student spread across almost all island in the archipelago with a total approximately 2,500 male and female students in 4 school units, namely MTS, SMA, MA, and SMK. The researcher conducted found several facts in this field that many students like to talk or do outdoor activity when the teacher was explained, did not complete school assignments for various unclear reasons. There were even some students who said that the student was a school or boarding school. 3. Student whose behavior is somewhat less controlled also gather in daily life with friends of the same type as them. This form in the environment for their social relationship. The approach taken by educators and caregivers at boarding school start from understanding that the fundamental goals of teaching is to gain knowledge and intelligence. The second is the role of the teacher, who is also caregiver for students. Purpose of research, the aim of this research is to analyze to determinant of learning outcome for religious attitude from the learning environment, self-regulated learning, and learning style. Methods uh, in our research, quantitative method using the survey questionnaire with path analysis is an estimation technique or estimation the causal relationship of a set of variables, whether they are independent or exogenous variable or dependent or endogenous variable. The population in this study were all students of private madrasah aliyah based Islamic boarding school, totally 519 students. The target population was taken from 262 students who received basic from 519 students. The target population is 262 students to random sampling. The sample is 183 students. And then research constructs, that is a variable one, self-regulated learning relationship relation with on learning style and then learning environment. Three variable that is to relation on outcome of learning attitude religious. Finding the analysis in SPSS describes statistic learning environment. Minimum value is 60 and then maximum value 48. That is standard deviation 6.63 and then mean 34.694. Uh, Also, outcome of learning attitude religious. Minimum is 80 and maximum 48. And then standard deviation 6.54. And then learning style also standard deviation is 6.5. That is mean values is 42.63. And then self-regulated learning also standard deviation that is 6.5. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with uh, SPSS testing requirement analysis, step one, the first is test of normality. With a normality in one sample Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, that is classic testing for normality. In four variable, that is learning style and then self-regulated learning and environmental learning and outcome of learning attitude religious. It is normal distributed because significancy for variable is more than 0.05. Learning style is 0.129 and then uh, self-regulated learning also and learning environmental also and then outcome of learning attitudes religious. And then step two, that is linear test in ANOVA table, that is linearity distributed in for variable is more it is the same is normality test, that is linearity test, uh, linearity from table, that is significancy uh, 0.0. So in the next step to this variable relationship. Variable relationship, that is to correlation with person correlation. Uh, One variable learning style and then self-regulated learning and then learning environment. Uh, in table correlation person. So in learning style significancy learning on self-regulated learning. Okay, test variable relationship learning student learning style on uh, self-regulated learning 0.000. So also self-regulated learning style on learning environment. So self-regulated learning uh, on learning environment also 0.00. So the next, that is hypothesis testing. First hypothesis: the direct effect of self-regulated on outcome of religion learning attitude obtain a significancy value of x1 of 0.00 less of 0.05. So it can be concluded that X1 has a direct and significant influence on Y. Second hypothesis, the direct effect of the learning style on outcome of religious learning attitude obtain a significance. Uh, so it can be concluded that X2 has B direct and significant influence on Y. Third hypothesis, the direct effect of the learning environment on outcome of religious learning attitude obtain significant values. So it can be concluded that X3 has a direct and significant influence on Y. The same as for hypothesis, and then until sick hypothesis. Until sick hypothesis. So the sick hypothesis, the indirect effect of learning environment X3 thought self religious X1 on outcome of learning attitudes religious Y. Based on the result of the third hypothesis and the first hypothesis, the direct effect of X3 is 0.0554, and the direct effect of X1 is 0.067. While the indirect effect of X3 for X1 or 5 versus is 0.056. This indicate that the direct effect of X3 is greater than the indirect effect of X3 for X1. Also, the direct effect of X1 is greater than the indirect effect of uh, X3 to X1. So in table, that is X1 on X2, that is direct effect of 0.784 in table, that is. So conformance testing models. So in self-regulated learning, and then learning style, and then learning environment, uh, that is determinant to outcome of learning attitudes religious, attitude religious. And then Conclusion: based on the result and discussion of the result, it can be concluded that a determinant factor in learning outcome or religious attitude, number one, there is a sufficient inverse direct relationship between self-regulated learning and the learning outcome of religious attitude. Number two, there is a weak inverse direct relationship between learning style and learning outcomes of religious attitude. Three, there is a very weak direct relationship between the learning environment and the learning outcome of religious attitude. The last contribution donated from the influence of the self-regulated learning, learning style, learning environment on learning outcome of religious attitude by